Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna get started here. Like that music? Can you hear it all right? Hey, welcome, and I'm Stambaugh, founder and president of Lead Chip. And you're going to ask, well, what is Lead Chip? Is it a chip in your knee? No, it stands for Northeastern York County History and Preservation. I call it that when I was taking a shower one day. That title, yes. Our mission is to preserve the history of Northeastern York County, and we oversee all these areas. We're one of the larger groups covering a very large area. We're incorporated with the state and with the IRS as a nonprofit organization. We have in-person or Zoom meetings with guest speakers. We also take historical tours locally. We also do presentations for libraries, senior citizen centers, history groups, and other groups. We have DVDs. We're on YouTube. We are also partnered with the York Library System to bring Zoom into history. We also have a scholarship fund for students who are pursuing studies in history-related fields. And all that in about 5 years worth of time since we started. We have a website. We have one of the larger websites in the county. We have over 90 pages. We honor over 30 people. We have over 2,000 pictures and articles. We have history from 13 localities, including the school district, 260 links to other websites it has been referred to. And we have over 9,000 unique home hits. Again, it's one of the largest ones in the county. We're on Facebook. We have a growing email list of over 375 persons, and that's our email address there. And we call it Lead Chip. My granddaughter says if you have two valves, the first one goes to talking, the second one goes to walking. We have no membership fees, no physical address at this time, location at this time. We totally operate on donations and offering items like these, which are available back on the table that you can purchase, or you can purchase them online. And last year, we were given the Local History Organization Award. There's a picture of the award and the accommodation that we got. Here's my group of board members and helpers. This award recognizes Lead Chip, whose activity in local history serves as a role model of excellence for others to follow. So I want to thank the History Center for presenting that to us. Now we're going to talk about Forest Park. This particular presentation was rated by the York County Writers Roundtable in 2021 as one of the top 5 presentations. Now, on to our presentation here. Okay, let's go down memory lane and experience with me the birth and death of Hanover's Forest Park. Now there. Okay, let's go back to the early 1900s. A local family wanted to go on a picnic at Eichenberger's Park, located in Hanover, York County. Back then, the trolley was the easiest way to travel. Eichenberger Park consisted of 16 wooded areas and was opened on June 25th, 1904. It had a picnic area, a playground, horseshoe pit, and a small baseball field. It was planted by a trolley company. This was the seed for the future Forest Park. It was named after the landowner, Captain Eichenberger. He was a Civil War captain who defended Hanover twice during the Confederacy. He was also a very successful businessman with his hand in many things in Hanover, including the railroad. Oh, there's our imaginary friends again, family again. While they're waiting for the trolley, let's go some sidetracking of our own. First, let's look at the development of the York County trolley system. On September 30th, 1886, the York Street Railroad Company began service with two one-horse-drawn cars traveling at a top speed of 15 miles an hour. And yes, somebody had to go back and clean the streets behind the horses. 6 years later, they began operating their trolleys electrically. The top speed dropped to 13 miles an hour, but no messy streets. During 1921, they had a total of 68 trolley cars, 85 miles of track, and recording almost 11 million riders. Here's a 1910 map of the trolley lines in York County. The dark lines are the completed railways. The dashes are the proposed lines, which were never developed. Notice it was proposed to go to Carlisle, Mechanicsburg, and even Gettysburg. In 1907, each line was a separate trolley operation. The York Hanover Street Rail Company was just one example. Then they combined with the York Street Railways Company. However, the Hanover McSherrystown Street Rail Company never remained separate. In February 1904, local newspapers were announcing that the York Street Rail Company's new Hanover line was open through Spring Grove. For 65 cents, York residents could travel south to Hanover and back. The Hanover McSherrystown Street Rail Company began service on September 8, 1893, connecting Adams and York County. By 1904, it had ended at a park which they started in Hanover. Let's look at the cost involved in operating trolleys. The initial costs include manpower and supplies to install about 100 miles of York County track. The rails were 60 pounds laid on oak and chestnut tiles with limestone quarry. Some were laid through private properties and others through existing roads. When it crossed creeks or valleys, they had to build bridges. Then they had to install about 100 miles of poles and wires. The voltage to the cars was over 6,000 volts. Then they had to, let's see here. Oh, the voltage to carry the power company then charged them 25 cents a day per car. Well, for these reasons, several cars were converted to 600 volts DC. But this required random generating stations. They had continued maintenance costs of the tracks, wires, and trolley cars. This maintenance building on Hartley Street near the fairgrounds. Then there was the cost of employees and the cars. To bring in additional revenue, they started delivering freight, packages, and even milk and eggs. Another money-making idea was the trolley park. Like that little trolley there at the bottom? I see our imaginary friends caught the trolley. Hang on as we ride down through Hanover. Now, they have a restored York County trolley car that you can still ride at Rock Hill Trolley Museum. Oh, I see our imaginary friends got to the park. Well, enjoy your picnic. You may be thinking, I never heard of this park. Where is it? Well, you take Route 30 west from York, at Cross Keys just before New Oxford, take 94 south to Hanover. Then Route 94 then turns into Baltimore Street, continue to Mount Olive Cemetery. Next to the cemetery is the South Hanover Mall. This is where the former location of the park was. Why were trolley parks established? Well, during the week, passengers kept the trolleys full going back and forth from work. But on the weekends, very few people rode them. So these companies created trolley parks to boost weekend riders and profit. This park was special because both the York Rail Company and the Hanover Macherstown Street Rail Company both stopped there. There were 4 trolley parks at one time in York County. The first was Holland Park in West Manchester Township, started in 1891. The second was Cold Springs Park in Manchester. Trolley cars brought many people from the reaches of York County to Cold Springs Park and to the neighboring Elm Beach, where they swam in the Conowaka Creek. Notice the trolley bridge in the top of the picture. The third was Brookside Park in Dover. The main attraction at the park was the 1896 Desnell Carousel. The carousel was sold, but the building was rebuilt. Now back to the fourth park, Eckenberg Park in Hanover. The park was soon filled with people. There were several annual business, community, and church picnics. A 1,800 person trolley cover station was added. Over 34 family reunions came each year. The largest was in 1924 with over 300 members. Now here's a picture of the roll bar reunion that from York County that was there that took place in the park in 1925. It was so large that I had to show the pictures in sections. The sign on the park was shown by the arrow. That was a big family. As popularity grew at the park, so did the attractions. A brand new movie theater was built, a steam carousel was installed, a skating rink, dance hall was added. Then there was a restaurant, horseshoe pits, petting zoo, playground, concession stands, which were owned by local people. The park had 2 circuits of electric lights for night. The United Telephone Company even installed a phone in the park. A lot of things have changed since our family first visited the park. It seemed like happy days would never end at the park. But A tornado struck Hanover on August 21st, 1915. It caused much damage to the rail system downtown Hanover and the park. The borough's damage in today's currency was over $6 million. Miraculously, there was no fatalities. At one location, telephone lines got caught with a trolley line, which carried 6,000 volts. No one knew how to turn off the extreme dangerous high voltage. Chamberman Bender became a hero when he used an axe to break into the switch box and bravely pulled the switch. The sightseers soon came to Hanover in full force. The Hanover York Street Rail Company had to quickly add 7 cars to the normal 2-car trip. The company transported 3,000 people to and from Hanover that day. 9 months after the tornado struck, they began preparing the park for the 1916 season. And while burning leaves, guess what happened? The restaurant and the park were destroyed. The total damage was estimated at $1,000. That equates to $20,000 today. That was an expensive leaf burning project. In 1917, the U.S. entered World War I. Eckenberg Park was open to troops, and they honored the soldiers with weekly dances. Before the 1925 season, the rail company leased the park operation to Mr. Villa of Huntington, West Virginia for 1-year trial period. He changed the name to Forest Grove Park. The first important decision by Mr. Villa was to hire August Cursa Sr. to manage the park. Under the new management, many improvements were made. They replaced the existing carousel and added a Ferris wheel. Many small children rides were added. They expanded the concession stand and picnic area. It was changing from just a trolley park to an amusement park. One of the attractions of the park that lasted to the end was the roller skating area. In 1928, an Indian named Bright Star took over the management of the roller rink. There was something unusual about the bathroom doors there. They opened into the rink. When someone comes out of the bathroom, you better watch out, or you'll be on the floor with the door. The Kirsten family previously owned and managed Fannie Mar Trolley Park near Wingsboro. They signed a 15-year lease to manage Forest Grove Park. However, after that first year, things went so well that we decided to purchase a 16-acre park and become both manager and owner. They also shortened the name from Forest Grove Park to just Forest Park. Forest Park was born. Birthday, March 26, 1926. Grand opening, April 23rd, 1926. By the way, I do have some of these tickets still. I can't use them anymore. August personally invested $25,000 into parks and improvements. That's $665,000 today. He added a painting arcade, shooting artillery, a galleries, fun house, and a new Ferris wheel with a new carousel. Remember riding the carousel and trying to catch the gold ring? Well, the park had 3 different carousels from 1907 to 1967. The first Denzel carousel in 1907 was installed during the first year of the park. The second Denzel carousel was installed in 1925 when it became Forest Road Park. August did not like the animals, so he replaced them with the ones from his previous carousel in Pennywise. He still did not like the animals, so he sold it far away to Mr. Eagleson in Alaska a year later. Well, Mr. Eagleson was a colorful character known as Scrap Iron Slim because he would buy anything he thought he could make a profit from. He purchased the carousel for $1,500, had it shipped to Anchorage, Alaska for another $1,500. He had it put together, but old Scrap Iron forgot something. It did not operate because it had no electricity where he put it. The first year as Forest Park, August wanted to be big and grand. The third Denzel carousel was installed in 1926. The diameter was 48 feet. It contained 50 hand-carved animals and 4 coaches. It was the largest of its kind in eastern Pennsylvania and was the first to run with a 50 horsepower motor. It was purchased from the White Rose Amusement Park here in York County. In 1967, this carousel was sold to Astro Park in Houston. In 2005, it was put up for sale. The Hanover Historical Society wanted to buy it, but the price of $1.2 million was too high. It was not sold, but retired in a dome at Six Flags Houston, where this flag is on it. It reads, "This old-time carousel was built in 1895. It features all the original animals were hand-carved from hardwood, as well as the original pipe organ and drums. This historical carousel was in continuous operation in Hanover from 1907. Now, that is not correct, because prior to 1926, it should state White Rose Amusement Park. I learned that the White Rose Amusement Park was located near the Med Ed offices here in York, across from Kiwanis Lake. And now continue until it was purchased to by Astro World, where it is now permanently housed in a unique dome structure. So the carousel that used to be here in York County is now in a museum. Two major incidents happened at the park. May 11, 1930, Martin McSherry from McSherrystown fell from the new roller coaster, which he attempted to crawl from the front seat to the back seat, then stood up on the seat while it was moving uphill. He suffered a broken leg, several lacerations, and internal surgeries. It was clearly his fault. After that, it was reported that August personally inspected each inch of the carousel every day for safety. Then in 1967, David Gray died from a stabbing in a fighting, which several shots were fired. Various organizations such as churches, clubs, and even families held their reunions, annual gatherings at the park. There were several special guests, attractions, excitement, including donkey basketball. And yes, there was a human butterfly and a mummy over 3,000 years old, and even music. Which kind of sleeping in the orchestra. It was really a happy place at one time. My brother-in-law's uncle used to live across the street from the park. When he visited them, he was not allowed to go to the park because his mother said it was an evil place. What good is an amusement park without a roller coaster? The Greyhound's first incline was 73 feet in height, and it had 10 dips, 2,100 foot long. It was 2,100 foot long. It ran on the 50 horsepower motor, electric motor. It used to pull up the cars to the first incline. From there, the cars ran on their own. It took 125,000 feet of lumber, tons of steel, and nuts and bolts. 200 gallons of paint was used. Electric lights were installed to improve nighttime operation. All the materials were furnished by local merchants. It was later renamed the Lower Dipper. Pictures here is looking down from the coaster into Hanover. The Greyhound was built by John Miller of Homewood, Illinois. He was a widely known builder of roller coasters. August wanted nothing but the best. By now, the park had up to 6 up-to-date rides, 14 games, a balloon, a ballroom, roller skating rink, miniature golf, an enclosed picnic area, and most of all, more restrooms. A 40-foot Ferris wheel was also a part of the park's improvements. On April 23rd, 1934, it was announced that school district would be attending free. Large crowds soon came and heard live concerts and performances. During World War II, Forest Park again honored soldiers with weekly dances. A few local senior ladies can still recall dancing with the servicemen from Camp Cole in Gettysburg, which was commanded by Captain Dwight Eisenhower. As a contribution to the war efforts, the owners purchased an adjacent acreage and converted it into a victory garden. They also had a stand that sold war garments. A half a century of trolleys, the automobiles and buses became the main means of transportation. By the late 1930s, trolleys were no longer brought persons to Forest Park. August saw this coming and built a 1,000 car free parking lot. I wonder what our imaginary friends would think of the park now, 60 years later. August Sr. died August 8, 1848. His son August Jr. took over. August's wife Helen said that they had taken many pictures of this park over 40 years of success, but he had stored them in a barn. Not a barn, August is in there. Well, guess what happened? A mouse found them and enjoyed the photos so much that he invited his friends to share the wonderful bedding of Forest Park memories. Unfortunately, very few pictures that he had taken were saved. For almost 60 years, the park grew even through a tornado, a fire, and 2 wars, several owners, the Great Depression, decline of trolleys, the death of August Sr., and even a mouse. But on August 18, 1966, fire broke out. The fire damage was estimated to be over $100,000, which equates to $780,000 today. The Hanover Sun reported that for the 1967 season, they were going to rebuild the skating rink and the picnic area, but not the damaged rides. You may ask, what caused the fire? Well, you cannot find the answer in any official records. In the late 60s, a lot of people came to the park by bus from downtown Baltimore. The son of the state police sergeant who investigated the fire told me in a previous presentation that I did that the state police concluded that it was started by the KKK. Sadly, this was the final blow to Forest Park. It was a slow and gradual death for the park. The attendance dwindled, rides were being removed, concession stands were closing, and upkeep was diminishing. The tombstone soon appeared. A year after the fire, the Hanover Evening Sun reports the Cursive family entered into agreement with Martin Cursive to build a shopping center on the site. Obituary: Forest Park parents, August Cursive Sr., born March 26, 1926, Hanover, York County. Died December 14th, 1967. The last trolley ran February 4th, 1939. York's trolley park soon began to die. Cold Springs is now apartments. Elm Beach is now completely gone. Brookside Carousel is gone. Highland Park is now a quarry, and Forest Park is now a strip mall. The music is silent, the bright lights are gone, the animals on the carousel no longer prance in a merry circle. The thrills offered by many of the rides are gone. Only memories of the land exist. Yesterday, it was a thriving amusement park. Today, it's only a fleeting memory. Unless we record and share these memories, they will also die. Perhaps it's just a sign of our times that Forest Park, which brought such excitement, joy, laughter to many, would be raised to make room for an American institution called a shopping center. The next time you're at South Hanover Shopping Center, take a moment and close your eyes. You might just hear the roar of the rolling roller coaster. August Perkins Sr. was buried in the cemetery next to the park, so he could always enjoy the sounds that brought joy to many. Here's how the parks affected me personally. On the left here is Charles Stambaugh, my grandfather, and on the other side is my grandmother. And they met each other at Penmore Park in Maryland. I was recently told that my grandfather visited the park often. He rode this carousel too many times and missed the train home. He had to spend the night in the nurse's station and catch the train the next day. They were married in 1925. That was the same year that August came from Penmore to Forest Park and brought to York County this carousel that they rode as sweethearts. Oh. In 1974, I was a senior at York Central High School, and I was in the jazz band. We had our pictures taken for our music record over the 1896 carousel in Brookside Trolley Park, which was owned at that time by Bob Huffman. The carousel nor the park was open at that time. I remember the unusual animals. The strange one here is shown here that I had my picture on. Okay, and these are other horses, well, or the giraffe on the horses on the carousel. Now notice this one down here on the far bottom here. Well, I found on the website that that horse is currently on sale for $30,000. So two of these horses were restored and currently on sale if you want to buy and put them in your home. This is my father, Lester Stambaugh. Okay. Several years ago, he approached me about developing a presentation for him about Forest Park. He gathered the pictures and information. We had a good time working on them together. He re-sparked my and many others' interest in York Trolley parks. He then passed away several years ago after showing this to several room-only standing crowds. So I decided to continue this presentation for him in his memory. Still being remembered. It's not. And I didn't even stop. There we go. Okay. In 1919, just after World War I, there were about 1,000 trolley parks that existed in the U.S. Today, out of those, only 11 parks that were started as trolley parks remain as amusement parks. Mm-hmm. And I'll show you those that still remain today, and some of them you may know. Lake Mount Park in Allentown was founded in 1884. Stony Park in Allentown, founded in 1884. Seabreeze Amusement Park, Rochester, New York, founded in 1874. Kennywood Park in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania, founded in 1898. Midway Park in Maple Springs, New York, founded in 1898. Kennebuck Park in Salem, New Hampshire, founded in 1902. Camden Park in Huntington, West Virginia, founded in 1903. Oaks Amusement Park in Portland, Oregon, founded in 1905. One Park, in New Jersey, founded in 1907. Ruby Park, founded in Erie, Pennsylvania, in 1908. And Quasi Park in Woodbury, Connecticut, founded in 1908. Now, recently, an elderly lady brought this print to me at one of my presentations. It was a reproduction of the original watercolor painting by Landis Print. The painting was carefully researched to ensure accuracy. Bottom left is a metal plate that she also had placed on the cars used to advertise the park. Well, I hope you enjoyed the history of Forest Park. We welcome your comments, memories, and of how trolley parks affected your life. Here are some of the credits. Oh, my father. Well, seriously. In closing, I want to say what Nietzsche's words is: share your history before it becomes the forgotten past. Thank you for that. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. But of course, as you know, I didn't go to the park. I was too young. I didn't ride. Any of you rode on the trolleys? Nobody?
I remember the trolley track.
Oh,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time at the park.
Okay.
Well, 50s, all through, and late 40s and stuff.
Wow.
Oh, that was great.
Wow.
At the school,
Yes.
see, they give kids tickets.
Right.
And
School
school day.
Wow. So, some of those things look familiar.
Huh?
These pictures look familiar to you.
But, oh, yeah. Mhm. Like the, well, the merry-go-round.
Yes.
Yeah. And some of the other, the roller coaster, the Greyhound.
Greyhound.
Yeah. I rode that a few times.
Okay. I hope you didn't miss the train like my grandfather did.
No. I was too late for the trolley though. They were going. No, I'm not there.
Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Slightly off topic, do you happen to know where the West Manchester Park is located?
West Manchester Park was there was one in Dover, the one in,
You once mentioned one in.
oh, yeah. That was, let's see here, not too far from, York Hospital. Is the quarry now out there. It was called, there was a big, I had some pictures of it. There was a big, stairway that went up called Batman's,
Yeah.
stairway. Yes. It's out there where your college is, some of the newer dorms are and stuff, off of Highland Avenue. I tried to go back there one time recently, and they got it all fenced off. You can't get close to it anymore. But I learned that I asked one time, why did they have those stairs? Did the trolley drop them off at the bottom or at the top of the stairs? And I was told it dropped them off at both places. So it's up to you whichever way you want to go.
And thanks.
You're welcome. Any other? Yes.
So what other talks do you share out?
Okay. The other two talks that I do is one I do on the rail trail that used to be here in York County. It was the first one in Pennsylvania. It ran for, I believe, about 20 years. And it was located in Manchester. And I do that talk, and also do a talk on Susquehanna Trail. You know, the Susquehanna Trail was not supposed to go through York County. It was supposed to go through Gettysburg. And it was a big argument and big fight, and it was also a big fight of where the road was gonna go through in York County. And I go through and discuss all that. It's very interesting. The road now that's called Susquehanna Trail was not supposed to be the Susquehanna Trail there in York, going up through. So, yes, and you know, the Susquehanna Trail went to a Boy Scout camp. It was a big controversy. And then when they put the bridge in, new bridge in, they took more of the Boy Scout camp, and it was so much of a fight that, you know, Governor Pinchot, he decided to this program to bring farmers out of mud by paving roads to farmers. He decided to do it in York County because of the big fight with the Susquehanna Trail. So I knew those two. Yes.
My family lived in Parkville, and I was born in the house across the street.
Yes.
And I was young, I lived there till I was 4. I remember going over with my sisters, and I guess they were keeping me. And our parents knew the parks very well. And on the roller coaster, I remember going over, and they had whoever was telling it kept me while they rode the roller coaster.
Okay.
And I wrote it, I think, later in life when at school. My sister roller skated, she was very good. And we used to roller skate, even when we lived in town years later, a neighbor lady would drive us out on Sunday, and we'd spend a lot of time at the roller rink.
Wow.
Plenty of time. And I loved the fun house, that was my favorite. We could go in there and
Fun
spend,
house. She said that for me, like.
you could spend an hour in there, because all you had to do was backtrack, and they never made you get out, so. And but I know I read almost all of it.
Wow.
Years went.
Each time I give this, people tell me things I keep on adding. I just added something yesterday. Somebody told me. I didn't know about my grandfather had to spend the night there at Henmark. I just learned that yesterday.
I remember the band shell going over there and going over for whatever they were had shows, you know. We spent a lot of time. I guess once we got across the street, we spent the day there. pretty
Wow.
much.
I saw Grandpa Jones at a show up at Forest Park.
Okay.
Yeah, they're at the show.
And the
Wow.
swing,
Yeah, Grandpa Jones.
they had a swing that had a bottom end and you could stand on, and that's what we did, stand on the side and made that thing go as far as it. And I have one at home, some man at my church made them, and we went and bought one. And
Wow.
I have it in my yard, I call it my Forest Park swing.
Oh.
I love it. Yeah,
Oh.
I had to have it.
Yeah, it's a shame. You know, I went out there and looked around. There's no evidence or knew nothing about it anymore.
Not even a plaque.
Completely. Pardon? Yes.
It's not even a plaque, there's
No, nothing.
really? Oh, that's a.
Nothing.
At the Hanover Area Historical Society of their museum, they have quite a few artifacts.
Do they?
Forest Park posters and photographs and things that people, bands that appeared there over the years, and quite a bit. So if you're, want to go sometime and take a look at all that.
Wow, are you part of
The Hanover Area Historical Society.
Yeah.
Thank you for having this, we were very interested in coming.
Well, thank you. Are you part of that group? The Hangover Park?
I'm a member, yeah.
Are you? Well, I've been trying to get in there to give this for 2 years now.
And contact Ken Wild.
Okay.
That's who you want to talk to.
I did it there in East Manhattan, Manhattan group.
Yeah.
I did that this year.
Yeah, contact, in fact, I'm gonna see Ken next week.
Well, tell them.
Yeah,
You know, I'm more interested in what happened in, I'm doing it in East Berlin,
And I was
in March.
before, I was born there before, I had.
I say, I'll mention you to him on Friday when I said.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
they went as far as.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Today.
Different people are saying to me, are saying, for you back.
Feel free to stick around and answer any
But I
questions.
expect you to know that.
And I'll close this up.